If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.
And just like that, it's like we were never gone. It's like it never happened. I'm back. Niko is back. I didn't have an episode last week. Niko has been out in Albany for the last 2 weeks with PLL, but we're both back. And what a better time than the NBA Finals. I know that you've been excited. I know that even though you've been working, you've been finding time to watch what you can. And obviously, you've been paying attention for the entire season. So we got plenty of that to talk about. Before we get into everything, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify as well. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. We'll get a few more of those in. We'll start reading them off on the air. Make sure that you tell your friends. Tell the people you don't like too. Maybe this is something that you'd rather share with them, and who knows? Maybe they'll enjoy it. Niko, it's good to have you back. How are things out east?
I mean, it didn't stop. It's good to be back. I missed the Colorado weather, even though it's rained here all day so far. But every day in Albany, New York is either cold, raining, or something wrong. And we got one practice of sunshine in 10 days. And let's just say I will not be moving to upstate New York anytime soon. But it was it's good to be back with the boys. Not a new team, obviously still with the Woods, but like basically a new team with a halfway new roster, new coaching staff, new general manager, new everything, new life. It should be. We got our first win this past weekend as well, so things are looking up for the Woods, and we're now back in the never ending cycle of home for 4 days, gone for 3 days. So it does not get much better than that.
You always said you wanted to be a WWE wrestler. That's a WWE schedule there. So you're getting to live that life. I mean, you're not getting to jump off tables and ladder. I don't know what you guys do in your spare time. You guys probably get pretty bored in between games once you have everything set up. I did my best to talk about the NBA conference finals as they were going on, but let's go back to that. I wasn't able to get Jordan on, so we didn't have the Minnesota perspective. But I think starting in the Western Conference, as that one ended earlier, you haven't been on actually since Game 7 of the Nuggets OKC series. So as of now, the Nuggets are the toughest test that the Oklahoma City Thunder have faced in their postseason. Might be the toughest test that they faced all the way to their championship run. But this Thunder team handled the Nuggets, came in and handled Minnesota. Minnesota wasn't shooting well, but OKC never let up. I said it when I was on by myself. It seems like we watched them kind of go through the stages of maturity throughout this entire postseason run, and now I'm sitting here pretty confident. Like, I'm not. We'll save our picks to the end, but I would be pretty confident as an Oklahoma City Thunder fan going into the series, especially seeing the Indiana Pacers across the way and not New York or Boston or something like that. But what did you see from OKC from Game 7 into the Western Conference Finals, and then where we sit today?
I mean, I will give Indiana love here in a second. I would say they are easily the best Eastern Conference team. For a reason, and I don't think they're just some pushover for a reason. But Oklahoma City, like, they've been the best regular season team all season. They are one of the most well built, obviously built through the draft, built through trading Paul George, built through trading Chris Paul, built through all these picks and various different avenues of developing young guys and not really signing any big free agents outside Hartenstein, Caruso, who Caruso obviously traded for, and Hartenstein they signed a 1-year deal to. So like, this team is it's fun, it's exciting. Obviously, Shea is a one of a kind talent and an absolute stud and an absolute star in this league. But like, what I saw more from that series is a Minnesota team that is just not ready. Minnesota is not ready for Anthony Edwards. Everyone was already proclaiming him as the face of the NBA. He is nowhere near that. He is nowhere even close to that.
He didn't play well, and he was banged up. But
he is not in that upper echelon of NBA talent. I will say that right now. Anthony Edwards is a proven all-star, but he needs to do a lot more if he wants to get into the sweepstakes of Jokic, Giannis, Shea, Luka, LeBron, Steph Curry, all those guys, because he is a far, far stretch away from that, because he got straight up, being honest with you, flat out embarrassed. Back-to-back years in the Western Conference Finals. Dallas last year absolutely came in and cooked them. And then this year, Oklahoma City just manhandled them, and they was like, here, we'll give you one game so we can close it out at home and lift the Western Conference Finals trophy at home. It's Oklahoma City is a damn good basketball team, and they've done so many great things, but Minnesota was not by far and away the second best team in the West. It was either the Denver Nuggets. I would put the Clippers in that conversation because they were very well tested. I'd even put the likes of the Lakers or some of those other teams in the middle pack. It was Minnesota had a great path where they benefited very, very much so of facing the Lakers, who obviously are a ticking time bomb in itself, and B, a lower seed Golden State Warriors that had a banged up Steph Curry. And then they faced no talent, and look what happened.
Basically no Steph Curry for the majority of that series, and it was bound to happen. We said it in the NFL playoffs, and we try and remind people, but we forget, and I forget too as a fan, your problems don't go away when you get to the postseason, and they oftentimes get magnified, and they shot like it was bad. Like I've seen wrestlers play pickup games on a wrestling mat that shot better than some of those Minnesota teams. It reminds me of the early Bulls teams, like where – yeah, I think Anthony Edwards is really good. And I think playing him one-on-one or in a one-game situation scares the hell out of me. But that's not how the NBA is set up.
When you have a lockdown defender on the opposite side, an all-defensive guy in Lou Dort who can just pick up Anthony Edwards full court with ease, and you rely on Julius Randle, who's never been able to be a number one guy. You rely on Rudy Gobert, who has only been able to be a Robin in a Batman-Robin situation and has never even made it past the Western Conference Finals. Like you see all these other role players, and Minnesota was a deep, deep team. But the difference was everything that Minnesota had, Oklahoma City had an answer for.
Yeah,
so there was no answers that Minnesota threw at them that OKC could not clap right back. Obviously, Oklahoma City's defense is one of the best, if not the best in the league, right? 3-point shooting is there for Oklahoma City. The likes of Caruso, obviously Jalen Williams had a very good shooting performance, and they have a lot of depth shooting that helps them a lot. Minnesota was not hitting, and Anthony Edwards was trying to play hero ball. That is one thing that will never fly against a team that is playing as good as Oklahoma City is right now.
It just won't happen when you have to win a series. You can't win series like that, and he's hopefully learned that lesson now. That's two pretty tough lessons. Minnesota in general, I mean, I've heard the stat every time that I look it up, it's even bigger. But the Big Four, so they are one of the American cities that have all 4 major sports teams in their city, and they have not won a professional sports championship in 34 years. The Minnesota Twins are the last professional championship that a Minnesota team has won, and I think it even goes. I think
they're the only one. I'm pretty sure it's the only one.
It's the only one, but I think it's even 20 plus years since they've made it past the semifinal round. Like they haven't even been playing. I mean, Brett Favre was the last time that they played in a conference championship game that would send them to a professional championship.
The last 2 years in Minnesota is obviously the conference championship. But yeah, like Minnesota, the Timberwolves have never won. Vikings have never, I don't think, ever been to a Super Bowl. Minnesota Wild, this version of the Minnesota Wild has never made the conference finals. Obviously, the North Stars, that's a different story. But like the 4 major sports, if you're a Minnesota sports fan, first of all, I'm sorry. I hope you sleep well at night and have other things to enjoy during sports seasons. But it's absolutely brutal. And frankly, look, Minnesota fans have a lot to look forward to. Anthony Edwards is the guy, and having Justin Jefferson is the guy, and having Kaprizov, and they have dudes. But it just seems like for whatever reason, they just can't get over the hump. I remember all those KG days when the Timberwolves were some of the best basketball. They could never get past Kobe and those Lakers strong teams. They could struggle against those Tim Duncan Spurs teams. And oh man, I don't know. Anthony Edwards could. Like I said, when you play in the Western Conference, which is the best conference for a reason, the Western as they call it, you have to have a special team. Mm-hmm. You have to have a special player, and Anthony Edwards could be that special player. But unfortunately, they have not been able to put together a special team. They put together a good team, a very good team, but they have not had that special team that they can rely their hat on.
And I think, outside of them not making it to a final series, if you want any further, like there is no questions about this. You can put them against any of the other teams that have been further than them in the playoffs. So that all the NBA champions, all the teams that lost in the conference final series, I'd say maybe outside of the the Heat team, but even them, they were on a hot streak. So maybe Jimmy Butler would have pushed them past Minnesota. They wouldn't have even stood a chance in any of those series with the teams that did move forward, did win the championships, or did at least play for one. So they're a ways off. Like, they're built to beat one team, and unfortunately they didn't see that team in the playoffs this year.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me feel a little bit happier about our situation as a Nuggets fan, because, like I said, if we push Oklahoma City to the brink and look at all signs are pointing to Oklahoma City being the NBA champions, and we're the only team that tested them, they've lost more games against us than they have the entire playoff run. They didn't lose a game to Memphis. They lost one game to Minnesota. They may lose more games to us in that one series than they did the entire playoffs, which is absolutely crazy to think about.
And I think moving over to the other side of that matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're not just talking about Shea. Obviously, Chet's come into his own now that he's been fully healthy and played a couple of seasons. But this Thunder team was pretty much down and out. And I've heard shows call this the Paul George series, because Paul George is the catalyst of both of the sides of the NBA Finals this year, where Pacers were able to get Haliburton, get Siakam with the move that they made for Paul George, and the Thunder were able to get Shea, bring in draft Chet, and they still hold the majority of the picks this year. But this Thunder rebuild is something kind of special, and we'll get to it a little bit later on in the show. We live in a city with a team that, you can take some notes. If you really want to get out of the rebuild, you can take some notes. Oklahoma City did this very fast, and I think we should talk about how that happened. So how did they go from really down and out after Russ and James Harden left to now, they are the favorite to win the NBA championship, and I think they even have plus odds to win this championship and next championship, according to Vegas right now.
You could circulate this back 10 years almost, like when KD left to the Warriors. Like the Oklahoma City Thunder were 1 win away from going back to the NBA Finals when they're up 3-1 against Golden State. People forget Oklahoma City, before Golden State lost a 3-1 lead to Cleveland in the finals. That conference finals with Oklahoma City versus the Thunder, and that series was 3-1 Oklahoma City, and obviously the Warriors came back and went to the NBA Finals that year. And then KD leaves, and then everything just starts spiraling after that. And you just think, like, this team has gone through many iterations. It's like, I heard, I think it was KG said this, or maybe it was another guy, that the world of the big three is dead. It is the world of the best teams now. If you do not have depth, you're not going to do anything. You could subside with 2 star players, but if you don't have at least 6 guys, 7 guys that can consistently be solid players in the NBA, you aren't going to go anywhere. And what Oklahoma City went away from after that KD thing, because look, there was another stop where they went from Russ, KD, and Harden to then Russ, KD, then to Russ, Melo, and Paul George, even a step further. And then they got rid of Russ. They got rid of Paul George, and obviously got rid of Melo. And this is where this entire rebuild start. And obviously Shea was the big piece in back. I don't think anyone could imagine. I mean, some people thought that out of Kentucky, Shea was going to be a damn good player. I don't know about MVP type player coming out of Kentucky, but he walked onto the scene in Oklahoma City and was mentored by Chris Paul. And as much as shit as I give Chris Paul, it really, really helped his growth as a player and as a leader of the team, because now you see young guys coming into the fold with Holmgren and Jalen Williams. You're like, Shea is. It's weird calling him the older head, but he has been in the league for 6-7 years. So it's been a little bit of time. And I think the way Presti has built this roster is built for a championship. I cannot emphasize enough. Last year, one of the big problems they had was their bench defense. They got rid of Josh Giddey. They traded him to Chicago for Alex Caruso, a guy who's won a championship, been around LeBron James, been around high-level athletes and high-level all-stars and all world-level players, and he brought him in the fold. You bring in Hartenstein from the Knicks last year, who had a breakout season, who was a lockdown defender to relieve the pressure off of Chet Holmgren in the post defensively, so he can just be a shot-blocking menace. This team is built in every single way that a championship roster is built, and Presti has done a great job, and frankly, they have done everything and so much more with as much as they got from giving up star players. And in a world where the Luka Doncic trades of the world happen, and you look at what Paul George just gave up, it just makes your head shake even more. Because, like, think about this is what the Thunder are getting rewarded for trading Westbrook, for trading Paul George, for trading Carmelo Anthony and rebuilding everything. Right, this is what they're getting rewarded for: years and years of draft picks and young talent, as opposed to the Dallas Mavericks are now wasting away with Anthony Davis with about 3 years of his prime, 2 or 3 years left of his prime left for giving away their star player. So it's a weird situation of how they did it, but man, Sam Presti deserves all the credit.
I don't know how we started talking about Dallas. I do know how we started talking about Dallas, but I was sitting there, I was watching ESPN yesterday, and they did an entire 5-minute segment. They brought in 3 separate personalities to argue for the Mavericks. Why are the Mavericks going to be the next Dallas team to win a championship? Why are the Cowboys going to be the next Dallas team to win a championship? Why are the Stars? I was like, how do we get to where Dallas is being talked about by Los Angeles? This is a Lakers segment, and they're doing it with Dallas and the Mavericks. I snuck it in there, but I do want to ask you this question. Is this team built for a championship? Or do you agree with Vegas and see multiple championships coming from this team? It's hard to predict, but the way that things change, and obviously we're sitting in a situation where we haven't been back since our team won. But is this team built for more than just this championship?
I'm going to say yes, but also at the same time, we've had 7 new NBA champions in the last 7 years, right? You go back to when I say back new, I mean not repeating guys, right? Obviously, whoever wins this year, Oklahoma City, Indiana, Boston last year, us 2 years, or excuse me, Boston last year, us 2 years ago. It was Milwaukee before that. It was Golden State before that. Then we go to the Lakers. Then you go back to the Warriors, right? It's been a while since we have had a repeat team, and it's been very, very good, right? It's been very, very good for basketball to have this disparity, whether the ratings down or not. It helps having smaller markets win championships because it brings more fans. It brings more energy to the smaller cities and smaller teams. But the problem is we thought our bubble was still wide open, and it's time to break ours up, right? The Milwaukee Bucks, you could have said that about Milwaukee 4 years ago, right? They haven't made the NBA Finals since then, right? Golden State, we thought we're going to go on this renaissance of coming back again, have not made the conference finals since they won that championship.
Toronto
Toronto same way, exactly. Things happen, and that's why basketball is the most unpredictable because who knows? In a year or two from now, Jalen Williams, who's a all NBA level player, an all-star on this team, could be like, hey, you know what? I've won my championships. Let me go try to see if I can be a number 1 on a bad team.
Pull a Bruce Brown.
Exactly. I would say this team is built to last, but in the Western Conference, with as many good teams as there are, it's a higher chance likely they don't return to the NBA Finals than they do repeat. That's all I will say.
It is not huge odds. I think plus 700 to win this year, but if you wanted to parlay that with this year and next year, it's plus 230. So the fact that it is on the positive side is something, and I think they have better odds to do that than Ohio State and Texas have of winning the national championship, of of New Orleans making the playoffs. They have better odds than those things. That was the good segment that I watched on ESPN before they started doing the Dallas thing. Going to the Eastern Conference. In the final series, yes, I'm going to say this in jest, and you've already mentioned it. We do have to talk about how good the Pacers are, and their style of basketball is very different. It's all go all the time. They're in great shape. They're able to play that way pretty much as they need to. But who's a bigger factor in this series, Caitlin Clark or Pat McAfee? They're both really good. They're both undefeated when they do their thing. And Pat McAfee had Michael Cole not in a suit on Monday Night Raw.
I will say Caitlin Clark is brought a lot of juice to Indiana basketball, so I will say Caitlin Clark in a way. But man,
to 49 other states.
I'll add in a third here. John Haliburton being allowed back to basketball games. It could be that one too, right?
Not on the floor though, up in the suite.
On the floor, but back at the games. So good.
Wouldn't you love to see him square off with Shea? I would love to see Haliburton's dad square off with Shea.
That'd be something. But man, this Pacers team, it's been really, really fun to watch the way they've been built because the Pacers for so long, I remember those Paul George, those Tyler Hansbrough, the Psycho T days, and how good they were, and they could never get over the hump, right? Obviously, Miami, LeBron was staring them down.
And
Miami,
Paul George's ankle exploded.
He exploded. In Cleveland, LeBron was staring him down, right? And then you look at this Indiana Pacers team, they were one of the most slept on teams. They had a absolutely horrible start to the season, but the last 50 game stretch of the NBA season, they were on pace with Oklahoma City in terms of their wins and losses, right? They really got hot at the right time, found their identity. This team has everything you could want from a championship team. It has pedigree with obviously Pascal Siakam. You have the young up-and-comers and Tyrese Haliburton and Andrew Nembhard who can guard very, very well. You have the veteran big men that can shot block and knock down threes in Miles Turner. Rick Carlisle is one of the most underrated coaches in NBA history. He obviously was at the helm for Dirk and Jason Kidd when they won a championship. And fast forward now, I think 15 years later we are now, which is crazy to think about. 15 years later, he is doing this with the same Indiana Pacers. And Indiana, for those who don't know, what like football in Texas is what basketball is in Indiana. Like like they live and die basketball in Indiana. Like the Mr. Indiana Basketball Award every year is like a damn like almost Naismith Player of the Year. Is how much they love their basketball, how big basketball is in the state of Indiana. And the Pacers have never been able to go over the hump. They obviously had Reggie Miller days where they ran into Michael Jordan and company, and then you had obviously the Ron Artest days where the Malice in the Palace, where things just absolutely went sideways, and it's very inspiring to see what both these teams, Pacers and Thunder, have done. Because like I saw Adam Silver say this, and I think it's important to remember. It's like if we saw a Green Bay versus Pittsburgh Super Bowl, I don't think anyone would bat an eye. And I don't think anyone would call Pittsburgh, and maybe Pittsburgh slightly, but Pittsburgh and Green Bay a massive big city.
No,
right?
They're definitely small markets.
Smaller markets, right? In Indiana and Oklahoma City, yes, they're smaller markets, but you have two of the most talented young teams in NBA history, and frankly, like two very mirror teams of each other, right? Like you have the young star Shea Haliburton, right? Like I just said, you have the big in the middle that can knock down threes and shot block and Miles Turner and Chet Holmgren. You have the lockdown defender that can guard 1 through 5 and Andrew Nembhard and Lou Dort. You have the secondary role piece that's a damn good scorer that has great experience in playoffs and Jalen Williams and Pascal Siakam. You have the championship experience in Siakam and Alex Caruso. Like the only problem with this series is that everything Indiana has, Oklahoma City has better of.
And they proved it in the regular season. You can't look at regular season matchups all the time, but both games that they played, Indiana was not able to outrun Oklahoma City.
Like everything Indiana does, Oklahoma City just has better versions of. I think the only thing you could say a better version of would be like the Andrew Nembhard shooting versus Lou Dort shooting, and that's probably it. Like everything Indiana does,
I would say the close games and also the ability to make the big comebacks. If that happens to be a factor in this series, if Haliburton goes nuclear like he has, and the Pacers have a crazy stat where I think they've won 3 games when they're down with less than 2 minutes left, like down 10 with less than 2 minutes left. So if that is a factor in this series and a team has to do that, I have a lot more faith in Indiana doing that than I do in Oklahoma City.
I mean, I will say Oklahoma City did that against us 3 times, so I'm not going to complain and say that they didn't do it. They just haven't done that in weeks, as opposed to Indiana doing it most recently against the Knicks. But
man, they played that little sister role well in that New York series. They milked that for all it was worth.
New York just may have been the biggest freaking frauds I've ever seen.
We'll talk about they have big news, and we'll talk about their fans when we get to their big news. But let's just focus on Indiana because everybody skipped over Indiana. The quote is funny, but I mean, Hoosiers is an iconic sports movie that everybody's seen. Rest in peace, Gene Hackman. It is something that's special for them. With this team, I guess one of the questions I'm sure somebody in the media is going to ask: is there going to be infighting because Pascal Siakam got the conference finals MVP over Haliburton? Haliburton had that moment where he looked like Drewski after the Celebrity All-Star game. Is that going to cause infighting? Is that going to blow this team up?
I'm going to say no. I think if it's more of an implosion, it's because of what Oklahoma City does to them. I don't think that has anything to play with this. I found it, I think it was, I can't remember who said this, but teams can be really close to winning NBA Finals without being so close. It's like you got to think about it like this. Like Miami Heat, when they played the Denver Nuggets, they were one series away from winning an NBA Finals. Were they as close as the Lakers, or as close as the Timberwolves, or as close as – probably not, right? There was a massive difference between one team to the next, right? You look at Dallas last year against Boston. They were a good team, but they really got ran over. And they were one series away, but they were as far away from a championship as possible. Look what they're at now, right?
Michael Jordan punched Steve Kerr in the face the year he hit the game-winning three.
Exactly. You could be one series away, but still so far away from a championship in today's NBA. And I unfortunately feel like Indiana could possibly be one of those teams. Haliburton is a damn good player. I just don't know how sustainable this level of play is for them. And they really, and like, I love Siakam's play. But Siakam is not walking into an NBA Finals with Kawhi Leonard. He's walking into a Finals with Tyrese Haliburton. It's a lot different, right? It's a lot different. So, I think
it couldn't be more different.
It's entirely different. It's
got a segment on the McAfee show. He talks. His nickname is the Haliban or Halkeda. It's also a little bit of subtle foreshadowing if you know about that situation. But Indiana it's awesome that they're there. Moving to New York, obviously the big story from yesterday. They fire Tom Thibodeau. Tibbs is out. Kind of saw it coming. They were looking for anybody to put blame on besides Jalen Brunson, and it landed on Karl Anthony Towns, and it landed on Thibodeau. Everybody is just going to use the excuse that he doesn't care about the players and runs them too much, and they just needed to get somebody new in there. I honestly, like, watching the reaction and knowing what the reaction of the players was after they lost the Eastern Conference Final Series, and Jalen Brunson sits there and says, I don't want this guy to go anywhere. It could mean it could be better for New York, but honestly, like, what are we doing? Well, you were in any better situation for the last 30 years, and you fire the guy that gets you the closest to a championship series that you've been ever.
The way Thibodeau constructed that roster, it was built. This is why Thibodeau has never made the NBA Finals as a head coach. The way he plays with five guys running them into the fucking ground lasts you through 2 rounds of the playoffs, and that's it. It's not sustainable. It's literally not sustainable for a full 28-game run, possibly at max, for the playoffs. It is not sustainable at all. And there's a reason why Thibodeau's way of thinking has not worked and has not surpassed him. Because, look, New York built that roster with Thibodeau's mindset of not playing the bench. Right, you trade all your young assets for OJ Anunoby. You trade all the young assets for Mikal Bridges. You traded away for Karl Anthony Towns, right? You trade your depth away for all that. And were the Knicks good? Yes, they were. They're a damn good team. But I'll keep going back and say this. You have to have 6 or 7 guys, probably 8 guys that can consistently play at an NBA-type level to win a championship. And the way Thibodeau was coaching, how can you come off the bench with getting 5 minutes a night and get some sort of rhythm and be that trusted, right? There's no trust whatsoever because it's not even a 6th guy he trusts. Like when Josh Hart played as bad as he did, when Karl Anthony Towns was struggling defensively, do you not think that a bench scorer with a 3-point shooter could have benefited this next team? Or about a bench big man that can just come in and lock down guys defensively, like a Steven Adams type player? Do you think they would be in the NBA Finals right now if they had that? Right? And Thibodeau's way of coaching has never been sustainable for winning a championship. And look, I frankly think that this is as good of a time as they could have fired him. Because the possibility out there, right? Michael Malone is from New York. You could go get him and bring him back. Right? That would be I think he'd fit perfectly. Championship pedigree and be a perfect fit for that locker room and maybe a little edge piece of Jalen Brunson. You look at Taylor Jenkins, who got fired from Memphis. Right? Who's also available. This is as good of a coaching hire pool of coaches as we've seen in a very long time. And to get out of Thibodeau when you saw a sinking ship happen may not have been the worst thing ever.
The reaction initially yesterday that I saw from a lot of the people that were on TV was he didn't deserve this. It wasn't his fault. He's been scapegoated. I think that all those things are true, except for, do you deserve to be fired? No, but you're also making a lot of money, and you're still making that money in the NBA when you do get fired. So it's not the end of the world, and I'm sure he'll be back somewhere. He'll be coaching at some point. That's what these guys do. That's why this profession is the way that it is, and nobody ever leaves. And looking at this matchup specifically now, we'll get into the part where we'll make our predictions at the end. NBA Finals, Oklahoma City and Indiana tip off tomorrow night to start game one. There was a little bit of a layoff this time. What are some things that you're looking at in this matchup? What are going to be some X factors that people can watch for?
I'm looking more specifically at which teams, young guys, are scared of the big moment, because I think that will have a massive factor, because Oklahoma City has a lot, like I said, a lot of young players with their very, very first NBA Finals. And same with Indiana, outside Siakam and Caruso on the opposite side, right? Which young guys are afraid of the moment? You look at Jalen Williams, a guy who, like I said, is all NBA type player. Is he afraid of the big time moment? He was against us the first couple games, and he struggled, and then helped his play in the game 6 and 7 going forward. But what's he going to look like, right? If for a team like Indiana, is Haliburton ready for the big line? Like, can Andrew Nembhard be a lockdown defender against some of the best wing offensive players in the league, and Jalen Williams and Lou Dort and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander? That's the biggest matchups I'm looking for, is like who's scared of the moment and who's ready for the moment. Because look, if for whatever reason, look, all the odds makers are going to Oklahoma City for a reason, because they've been the best regular season team all season. But like if Oklahoma City is afraid of the big moment, Indiana could walk in and punk one of these first two games and come back home to a raucous crowd in Indiana and be ready to go. And that could change the whole entire series. But you could also see a situation where Oklahoma City just dominates the game and just sees this as a normal game and just comes out firing on all cylinders and say, we're not playing with our food. We have 4 games to achieve everything we ever wanted, and just absolutely comes out and dominates. That's what I'm looking for between these, especially these first 2 games of Oklahoma City.
I'm interested to see how each team, because I feel like each team will get a loss. It might be different depending on how the series goes. But which of these young squads can decide that losing one game in the NBA Finals doesn't mean that you lose the championship until you've lost 4 times? So, yes, things will go badly. I use the Blues when they beat the Bruins as an example. I think they got pumped in games 5 and 6. And they had the lead, and then they lost 2 games in a row. Like, they were able to bounce themselves back, know that they hadn't lost the championship yet, and they came through and won. One of these 2 teams is going to have to be able to do that, I believe. Or at some point in a game, it's going to look like everything's going wrong, and are they going to implode like young teams often do? Or are we going to see some maturity? Are we going to see teams mature in front of us? That's kind of what I'm interested in. I think that's what gives this series the intrigue, because both these teams can have really big emotional outbursts, and both these teams can go deep into a hole or play lights out. This might be the most entertaining finals. Like, nobody wanted to watch Florida and Edmonton last year. That thing went down to 7 games and a goddamn overtime. Like, maybe this will be that. Who knows?
I mean, I'll jump into my prediction. I think I have Oklahoma City in 5. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Oklahoma City dominates game 1. I think Indiana makes it a close game 2, and Oklahoma City takes 1 and 2 at home. I think Indiana wins game 3, and Oklahoma City gets 4 and 5 and hoist it in Oklahoma City. I like I said before, everything Indiana does, Oklahoma City just does better. Like what? And this is a big slight to the Eastern Conference because of how bad it is. But like if Oklahoma City was in the Eastern Conference the last 2 years, they may have been representing the East, right? They may have been representing the East because of the cakewalk that the Eastern Conference teams have had and the poor talent, as opposed to the West where they had to go through dogfight after dogfight, right? This is unfortunately for Indiana Pacers fans. I think you win 1 game, and I think it's a cool story. But if you Indiana is a damn good team, but Oklahoma City is a team of destiny. They have the MVP. They have not arguably, they have the best surrounding support system an MVP has had, probably in the last, I don't even know, probably since LeBron won, or maybe since Steph won MVP for Golden State way back when. Like that's how long it's been since we've seen a support system this good around Shea, and Oklahoma City, I think, just absolutely trounces. I think Indiana is a great story. I'd love for them to have some haymakers and go toe to toe and make some good games and win some ball games. But Oklahoma City, I think, rolls, absolutely rolls.
Do you think that this one is over before or after the NHL finals?
I mean, the game,
because they're playing they're playing game one right now of the NHL finals. And they will have an extra day of travel as well.
I mean, I've been watching game one in the background of us recording, and I think this game's a lot closer than what the Thunder pace is going to be. So I would say yes. Game 5 in this series goes game 6, and it's a day or two long.
We'll switch over to the NHL finals. I know that it's been tough to watch, but hey, I think that it makes it a little bit easier. I know we sound petty, but it is a little bit petty. I'm glad that the Nuggets are the best shot that Oklahoma City took all postseason, and I'm happy that Mikko Rantanen, even though he sent us home with 7 goals in 3 games, Dallas still is not.
He fell off very quickly.
He went so quiet.
Absolutely cooked us.
Yes,
absolutely cooked us. And then
kicked the shit out of all of our defenders. And he saw Rope Hintz get slashed on the ankle, and he's like, "I want none of that, brother. I want none of this. I don't want the smoke." That was, it's actually a little bit frightening to see Connor McDavid and the way that he's carrying the puck right now. And the Edmonton Oilers playoffs have been a roller coaster because. I don't know if people will remember this, and if you're just tuning in, just joining us, and you haven't watched any of our episodes, when we were doing our initial shows in the playoffs, and they were down 0-2 to Los Angeles, I said it a lot. I'm going to speak just for myself. I said, this is the year. The Kings have figured it out, and Edmonton, I just feel like they're done. And what did they do? I think they won that. I think they went 4 straight. Yeah, and ended that thing in 6. Worked over. I can't even remember who they played in the second round. Yeah, they worked over Vegas. They had the buzzer beater goal, but it was never really that close. And McDavid and Draisaitl aren't having to carry the team. Now we're back in this conference final series, and it is frightening. Like, I feel like he's just going to knock everybody over. Everybody's just bowling pins when 97 has the puck right now. And then Draisaitl, I feel like the way that McDavid, like the way he's fired up, Draisaitl's been forgotten about. And they have a lot of other guys this year that have stepped up, and Draisaitl doesn't have to be the only other scorer on an Edmonton team. Edmonton worked Dallas. Absolutely. Up and down.
McDavid is just on a mission. This is like LeBron in the 2010s. Like, he is full head of steam. Like, his legacy is on the line. His legacy is fully on the line. He's like, Crosby is one chip by now. Ovechkin broke the freaking goal record this season. I think I need to bring my name back to the forefront, and has gone full lean forward in a video game, playing video games with your boys kind of mode.
He's taking this serious now.
It's bad. It's very, very bad. And he has been on a mission. And like this Oilers team, like, they've been very, very good defensively is what's been very, very impressive by me. But, like, they have to be. Because I cannot stress this enough. They probably have had one of the 4 worst goalies coming into the playoffs. I cannot emphasize this. Suskin has played good games. He's had some good games. He had a shutout against Dallas, one of those games. But he was coming into playoffs probably one of the 4 worst goalies. And
he also gave up 6 goals in the third period in game 1 against Dallas.
Exactly. Like, you have no idea it's good. It's sometimes good, sometimes shit. Literally, you don't know what the hell you're going to get. And on the opposite side, Bobrovsky is Bobrovsky. He's been unreal. He's
Russian assassin. I'm here from KGB to stop puck. No goals go in. Florida Panthers win.
He's been unreal. And I know I sound like a broken record every time I talk about hockey and how important the fucking goaltenders is. If you don't have a guy in the cage that everyone can rely on, you're not winning shit. I'll put that out there. It doesn't matter if I could talk about McDavid, Draisaitl. I could talk about Marchand. I could talk about Matthew Tkachuk coming back. I could talk about all that. It doesn't matter. If the guy between the pipes is not stopping pucks from going in, it doesn't matter what the fuck's going on in front of him. And Skinner has had great games, had really, really shit games. And Bobrovsky's just had this cool, steady calmness to him. And that's what just makes it so scary about Florida, because Florida is a damn wagon. Absolute damn wagon. And this team may be even better than last year's. And that's very, very tough to figure out when you have a team trying to go for a back-to-back championship, because usually there's a fall off. And this team is probably they are better, in my opinion, than they were last
year. This is very similar. I mean, this script has played out a lot. It was Gretzky's first time that he won the Cup. They lost to the Islanders, and then they came back, played the Islanders again in the series, and they won their first Stanley Cup. Crosby, same situation. Lost to the Red Wings, came back the next season after they traded Ryan Whitney, and took the cup, were able to win their first championship. Now McDavid is trying to play out the same story, but it is a tall, like Florida has sneakily, them in Vegas have sneakily built some of the best players because people like to live there. They get to keep a majority of the money that they make there, but it's like people didn't pay attention to Sasha Barkov for a long time, and they should have been. Jaromir Jagr got that guy going right, and his last years in Florida gave them the key to all of their success. It does not matter who Sasha Barkov plays with. He is going to look like a top-line talent, and it's just steady, it's collected, and they're still they're dirty. They're the dirtiest team. Woo! Dirtiest team in the NHL. It's
Bennett,
Nature
Reinhart,
Boy Ric Flair
Marchand,
dirty.
Bennett, Reinhart, Marchand, the biggest rats in the league that can put pucks in the back of the net, but also break your fucking nose.
Well, Kachuk is a rat too. I know that he stands up and fights for himself, but he's a rat too. Oh my! It's been crazy what they've been able to do, and I don't know. Like Maurice is obviously a very good coach. He's trying to put himself a little bit too much in the spotlight for my liking recently, even though he says that he's trying to take himself out of it. But that's just a team that has a system, and that system, they don't panic. And I think that they had that moment of panic in the last year's Cup final when they were down and or they were up, and Edmonton was able to make it into a Game 7, and they were a bounce away from possibly losing that championship chance. They had that moment of panic. They were able to settle themselves, and it looked like, okay, I know what to expect. I know that they are fast. I know that teams are going to score on us as long as we can shut them down in the right moments. I feel like it's what we were talking about with Dallas and Colorado. Colorado could never get more than a goal lead. Florida doesn't let you get more than a goal lead. If you are lucky enough to beat Bobrovsky, it's hard to say when you're speaking fast. Bobrovsky, if you're able to beat him, you're not beating him before his team goes in because they take it personally. They love their goaltender so much that they are expecting him to stop everything, and then when it doesn't happen, they get pissed off and they go down on the other end and make it work for themselves. That is a machine, unlike something like that's the old Soviet hockey machine.
It's very well oiled. Like the depth of the forward lines for Florida is just insane, right? Like you said, Barkov, having Kachuk, who's not been healthy, Marchand playing that third line winger is insane. A guy that wore the C for some Bruins teams and wore the A on some Cup championship teams. Like the depth of Florida is just unfreaking real, unreal, and I don't know. It's weird to think comparing this to the Tampa Bay team, because I think the way the two teams dominate is very, very different. If Florida is able to go back to back like Tampa Bay did, Tampa Bay was so relying on Vasilevsky and Kucherov that the two and obviously Hedman that they ran off of how well those guys were oiled, and everyone stepped in line. A lot of role players that frankly aren't as good anymore. But you look at this Florida team, the Florida depth is just unfreaking real. It just, they keep coming with waves. You're like, this is the fucking third line that our third liners have to go against. It's just like, this is what a Stanley Cup level team looks like. And man, Florida it's very, very exciting if you're a Florida hockey fan, because we are 4 games away from 4 of the last 7 Stanley Cup champions being from the state of Florida. That's kind of crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a nice southern market, just like Colorado. With this matchup, the rematch is there, but it's also with the way that this NHL season worked. If we go back in time to the All-Star break with the 4 nations, America versus Canada, this is Canada. They had a chance last year to bring it back. I think that people are looking at this. They have home ice advantage. They're starting the series in Edmonton now. They are the third period start yet? No, they're almost ready to end the second period, and Florida is up 3-2 when we're live on Wednesday. So game 1 won't be over by the time that we're done. But this is the best chance that Canada has had to break that curse set by Patrick Waugh. Are you expecting that to happen, or is America going to be defended by Florida, which I think is actually not that wild of a statement?
I want to relate this back to a basketball, and you want to know for our listeners that don't follow hockey as much. Like this is like LeBron going against the Golden State Warriors and during their heyday. Like I'm not calling Brad Marchand Kevin Durant because Kevin Durant is insane, but like you have a unstoppable force on one end, when as opposed to one of the best oiled teams you may have ever seen in Florida. And can one man / one half man, because Draisaitl is also insane too, but can a couple really all time great players take down a machine? I'm going to say no. I think Florida goes back to back. I don't know. I think McDavid will get his eventually. I think they're going to have to look out with somebody in the Eastern Conference becoming beat up, because if they played Carolina in the Cup final, I think they would have walked through them. This Florida team, I think, is just different. And if you are in management for the Edmonton Oilers, the number one thing you should do in this offseason is go find a number one goalie. Because if once you have the offensive firepower, that's zero doubt about that. You're starting to develop really good young defenders as well, right? You just need a guy between the pipes, a guy, like a absolute guy that like can shut teams down when your defense isn't doing things that they should be doing. And I think that's the difference between Florida is with Bobrovsky right now, and then what Edmonton is with Skinner right now. And I think that will be the downfall of Edmonton.
It is a big issue, and the game is totally different than when it was back when Gretzky played for the Edmonton Oilers. But there is, the parallel between those two teams. Grant Fuhr was not a Dominic Hasek. He did not stop everything. He was Swiss cheese for a majority of the night, and then he would lock it in, and Gretzky would say, okay, keep it at 6. I'll score 7. We'll go home with 2 points. That was the conversations being had in the dressing room. It happened. That's the only thing. It has happened where the team with the bad goaltender, whose star is literally just saying keep them under 4 and we'll be able to make it up for you. I want to see something different. I don't want to see Canada win a Stanley Cup. And not that I'm a Florida Panther fan, because if they were to ever play Colorado, I would be screaming for every single one of them to be arrested / beaten and thrown in jail. But it just seems like it's like that second Tampa run. I know that the first one when they beat Montreal in the bubble, whatever. But the second one when they won it the next year, it was inevitable. Of course it's going to happen. This kind of feels inevitable. And I don't mean to quote Thanos, but those things happen for a reason. I do think that there's going to be too much. Like McDavid might have that moment where he totally tries to take over. But again, when they score on Bobrovsky, the Panthers are going to take that personally. And it doesn't matter what Connor McDavid thinks about that, because he only plays 35 minutes a night at most. Nobody can play 60.
It's still weird just looking at my screen and seeing a line of Bennett, fucking Reinhart, and Marchand, and I'm just like, that's their second line. It's a fucking joke. I'm sorry, I can't. Edmonton just does not have the firepower to match that.
And remember last year, Bennett sucker punched Brad Marchand with his glove on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now they're best friends.
Now they're passing apples to each other.
Oh, you know what that is? It's stepbrothers. They baseball bat, golf club. I still fucking hate you. I hate you too. You're an idiot.
Works perfectly. Sometimes it works, and it works.
If you can figure out the chemistry, sometimes that's all you need. Before we move off of hockey, let's talk about our team, because our team did make some news. We have a 2C for a little bit of time. I don't know how you feel about the contract. I'll get the details of that pulled up. But Brock Nelson will be staying in Colorado when everybody was saying he wants to go back home. He wants to play for Minnesota. It made sense. And he was going to be an unrestricted free agent this upcoming season. He's older. He's going to be 34. But Colorado was able to get it done. And now, that was something that was hanging over the organization, was figuring out the 2C when Brock Nelson was leaving. And now that he's not, it feels like that question has been answered, and now we can focus on the other areas that we know need to be improved. Like, why do we give away a 300-point and 3-season guy? That's just something that I would like answered. What do you think about the Brock Nelson deal?
I was ecstatic. I did not expect this at all. I was expecting him to leave, but I was ecstatic because, frankly, like, one of the reasons why I was so down after we lost was, like, we just paid all that for a fucking rental, for a couple rentals that didn't do anything, right? We're going to walk into this upcoming season, with confidence about 2 positions that we have not had confidence in the last 3 years. And that is goaltender, Mackenzie Blackwood, and a 2C in Brock Nelson. right? You can now get a full 82 game season of repetition and depth of lineups and figure out who fits with who of that second line, especially of figuring out how does Nelson, Landeskog, and Nichushkin a full 82 games look like, right? How do they work together? How do they gel, right? Because like I said, you saw things come through the rough that obviously that it looked like when Landy was there, he was playing well, but you could still see that they were like, oh, do I give Landy the puck here? Nelson wasn't being the Brock Nelson he was for New York all the time. And now he'll get a full regular season of the game. So I'm ecstatic. I'm very, very, I could give less than 2 Fs about the contract situation. Cale Makar is not, all that means is someone's taking less money and not leaving, okay? Because Cale Makar is not leaving either, okay?
And you should ask your players about the contract that you offer them. Don't just trade them when they maybe don't even know that they got offered a contract.
The other thing the other story, like I said, I'm excited for Brock Nelson, and I think it's going to be awesome for us going forward. The other thing I've been seeing floated around was this Marty Necas and that how poor he was in the playoffs and how much shit he got for his poor performance, which, by the way, he's had poor performances going back to Carolina. It's something that stuck with him. He was flying around that first couple lines, and they said maybe being on a line with Nathan McKinnon, it doesn't add up to his standards. Okay, is all I'm going to say. And apparently, there's a little bit of rumors that he's not very happy. If he's not happy, we can happily get some depth pieces for him and get somebody that will play on that first line with him and McKinnon. So with Lecky and McKinnon. So I'm not worried in the slightest. If Nate just doesn't want to stick around, it's adios amigo, as far as I'm aware. But Brock Nelson was, because like I said, this free agency market, we would not have gotten someone to the level of Brock Nelson to fill that 2C. We would not have gotten.
We would have had to pay Sam Bennett and his children and his family for generations. We would have had to pay Sam Bennett to get him away from Florida, but he was going to be another UFA at 2C.
And let's be honest, like that would have been a far-fetched, a tough one to get, especially pulling him away as a guy who, instead of a guy who's obviously with you this past offseason or end of the regular season, excuse me. So I think it's a dream come true. I just think now there's obviously questions on the back end of the defense, and obviously the questions with the bottom 6 forwards. But your top 6 forwards, for the most part, are all set. It's all set, right? So now you got to go into and McFarland and Sakic will do this, but like you're not going to free agency this year with holes to fill, like massive holes to fill. You're going into figuring out how do these pieces add to a championship level team. It's not being like, okay, we have to fill this because we physically don't have someone there. It's like, okay, we need a depth forward. We need a depth defenseman. We need this guy who can do this on the power play. We need this guy who can do this on the on the PK, right? Those are specialty players you can find. Not necessarily like a guy that can win fucking faceoffs every consistently at the 2C position, right? Or a guy that consistently stop pucks. You have both of those. So now honestly, I think it gets more fun.
And I would have liked him to score against Dallas, but he is still. I'm glad that we keep him around for 3 years. They didn't disclose the financial side of the contract, but it is 3 years.
Like 7.5, if I remember correctly.
It's not necessarily. I guess the only thing that makes the number not what you wanted is because he's old. But it's not like guys that play. I mean, Pavelski was old at the end of his career.
What were you gonna do? Just like fucking not give him anything, and then try to trade somebody away?
He should want to play for us just because.
And get Mitch Marner? Like what was that?
Oh, you think Mitch Marner was gonna take a $21 million contract?
No, I'm just saying.
I know. We're talking to the same people. We're talking to the same people that are sitting out there like Brock Nelson didn't score. Bleh. Marty Necas. He just gets his ass kicked in the playoffs. Bleh. Wedgwood. Bleh. Shut up.
This team will be fine. It's like I was more worrisome. That was the biggest worrisome for me was Brock Nelson, and the fact they locked that up before even the fucking playoffs finished. It makes me even happier. It makes me even more confident because that was my biggest worry. Fuck, we gave up Cal Ritchie. Fuck, we gave up all these first-round picks. Who cares if fucking Cal Ritchie becomes Patrice fucking Bergeron? If we win a cup in the next 3 years with Brock Nelson, the deal's worth it.
It does have to be paid off, but it's a good start to getting close to that payoff. That game about to finish the second period, so we'll be able to watch the end of it. You guys will too after we jump off live. We're football starved, so there's a couple topics. I've been listening to a few different shows, and they brought it to my attention, so I'm going to bring it to your attention. I'm going to put this one first because we get to talk about the Broncos in a different light than we've ever been able to talk about the Broncos in the offseason before. I think that they're in a good spot. I'm expecting good things from them. I'm not necessarily as optimistic as some of the people that I've been reading. There have been some columns put out recently that this team needs to be looked at as a Super Bowl contender. The same article last season that ranked them as 31st in the NFL personnel-wise recently ranked them number 9. I believe that was PFF. So they went from 31 to 9. Now, I do think that they were better than 31 last year. I don't know if they're necessarily like all the way up to number 9 right now. So maybe they're just trying to overcorrect themselves. But there is a lot of lofty things being said about this team. And I guess I just want to talk to you about, like, I feel like there shouldn't necessarily have to be these championship parameters right now. It seems like that's a little bit soon.
I don't think the number 9 best roster is that far off. I'll be honest with you, because this is the best defense in football. Statistically, this team had the most sacks as a group in the NFL, right? They had the defensive player of the year in Patrick Surtain, and they added 2 pieces that filled the most massive holes. 3 pieces, actually. I take it back. 3 pieces on the defense side of the ball that were the biggest holes. And that was quarterback 2, which they drafted Jahdae Barron with, right? You added a middle linebacker in the middle of the field that obviously is coming off an injury, but is an absolute stud in the run game, an absolute stud in guarding tight ends and Dre Greenlaw. You had one of the hardest hitting safeties in Talafana Hufanga, right? It is the best defense in football. So 9th best roster in the NFL doesn't raise a flag at all to me. That doesn't raise a flag at all to me. I think that's pretty fair, to be honest with you. Because when you have the best defense in football, that is where you should end up at minimum. At minimum. As opposed to the opposite side of the ball, I would not put this team as Super Bowl contenders. I would put this team as a strong, very strong division winner contender. AFC West contender. I would put it a very strong AFC West contender. I would not put it as far as the Bills, the fucking Ravens, those level teams right now. But I would say that this team has a possibility to host a playoff game next year. And I don't think that's crazy of a take.
So floor is winning a playoff game.
I would say floor is if even if you get in the wild card, if you're a high wild card team, you could beat a team like the Texans in the first round. That's what I'm looking at. Is
winning a playoff game sounds a lot more reasonable than winning the Super Bowl this year.
I'm not in that boat that we're winning the Super Bowl this year. I am in the boat of that this team is going to give the Kansas City Chiefs a run for their money for the AFC West title. That's what I am. Because you have the best defense in football. The Kansas City Chiefs are having to get younger. They're losing pieces left and right? It is I circulate this back to CJ Stroud last year. It's like CJ Stroud in year 2, people started figuring him out. But he started depending on more of his weapons, and they were in a bad division. Obviously, and that helped him a lot. But like they were a team that was able to win a playoff game and be a little bit of a threat, right? And that's what you want out of a second-year quarterback. I remind you, a second-year quarterback.
I think that Sean Payton is also smart enough too. That was more of a coaching mistake with CJ Stroud's second year, and it happens. That's why the sophomore slump exists. It's not just that everybody turns into a pumpkin after year 1. But the coaches start saying, okay, you handled 50 plays that we could run with you last year really well. We're going to bump that up to 150. And we might not be really good. Like we might not be as good at the 50 plays as we are at the 150 plays, but it's more plays. We have more to do. Don't do that. Just keep very simple and add small things, especially young. I think right now, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, guys that really played over what people expected last year. If their coaching staffs are going to walk in and say, there's a dictionary, that's our playbook, let's go. That's going to be where you start seeing teams get set up for failure. I think that Sean Payton's smart enough to understand that. I think that he's done that enough himself as a coach to know that that's not the way to go about this. I think that's the big thing for the Broncos offense is don't try and add the world. Very simple.
And look what they added in the offensive side of the ball to addition-wise to this team. And it shows you why. Right, you have a consistent pass catcher you can get in Evan Ingram that is going to only help Bo Nix, considering they didn't have a single tight end that's worth a fucking shit in the entire and on the roster last year. It's going to be rostered by anybody. Okay,
sorry, Lucas Kroll.
Great story.
Great catch. He had that really cool catch when we were there.
Really great catch. That's about it.
Or was that Troutman? Shit.
might have been one. I don't know. One of the two. They all blend together. They all look the same. Okay. And pads on. But Evan Ingram, I think, is going to be a massive help to Bo Nix. I think it's going to be a massive help. And then you invested heavily in the running back position with RJ Harvey and Andre Keston. I think that is going to, and like I said, that it has to be a big year for both of those guys.
They need a running game. They had zero running game last year.
And I think having two guys, fire and ice, is going to help a lot because I think you look at those teams that, and I'm not comparing those two guys to Mark Ingram and fucking Pierre Thomas, and all those New Orleans
Reggie
Saints.
Bush. Reggie Bush and Pierre Thomas.
Pierre Thomas, excuse me. But they had a strength and they had speed. Yeah. Right. And frankly, both of these guys, I estimate, is a little bit more strength than Harvey, but RJ Harvey has that closing speed, and they can use them both very, very well, I think. And I expect a big, massive leap from SMA. I don't expect a ton from Harvey. I expect Harvey to have a good season, not a crazy season like everyone thinks he's going to have, or he's going to be offensive rookie of the year. I'm not going to go that far. I would love to see a consistent running back and a running game that would help Bo Nix even more. And like I said, the offensive line is all returners, and I think that helps a lot. You have a tight end that's being added. You have depth of receivers position and guys that are ready to take that next step. Vele and Mims are ready to take that next step. You still have Sutton to give them help, right? The questions on this team is still on the offensive side of the football, right? And you have an offensive-minded head coach to figure that out with. An offensive-minded head coach with that has coached the best in the game in the history of the game. So that helps a lot. And like I said, cannot stress this enough. When you have a defense that can hold teams under 20 points consistently, you have a very good shot to win a lot of football games. And that's what this Broncos defense has.
Yeah. They were very good. Had a couple of games last year due to injury where it wasn't as good as you wanted, but now you're kind of moving everybody a spot down the depth chart, and that should help everybody out too, because we saw what happened when Riley Moss had to go up against T. Higgins at 75%, and we don't need to say it was bad. Wasn't good. That's all we'll have to say about that. And
like I said, the depth of the quarterback room is fantastic. Jahdae Barron can come in the slot, doesn't have to guard the number one guy. You have obviously Riley Moss coming back after a good start to the year last year. You have Jaquan McMillan, who is a great slot guy too. Hufanga is a guy that plays in the slot too, out of the safety and goes back and forth. Brandon Jones as well. Like this is still one of the best DB rooms in football too. It's headed by the best defensive player in football last year.
And you get Alex Singleton. You get him back, and
like the middle,
Greenlaw will help,
better.
but Alex Singleton is a tackle machine.
Absolutely.
He runs on tackling fuel. Just keep him healthy. The other thing for the NFL before I move over, well, it's all NFL related, but Saquon Barkley will now have not just one curse to overcome because he is the Madden cover athlete this year. They did the backwards hurdle. Didn't make him do it again. They helped him out. They put him on harnesses. His wire fighting team was ready. But he also has the NFL Offensive Player of the Year curse to overcome, because I didn't realize this, but almost all of those guys in the last 6 years that have won Offensive Player of the Year, Chris McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, the season after, they get injured. It doesn't go well. What are your thoughts on the Madden / NFL Offensive Player of the Year?
I think Barkley has already soaked a lot of the curses and dealt with injuries that, frankly, like he's not like. I think that the way that Philly uses him is not as strenuous as Christian McCaffrey was used in San Francisco, and I think that pays to a like. It would be one thing if it was a running back that just got hit at the line of scrimmage every fucking time. But
there are quite a few plays where he doesn't get touched.
Literally doesn't get touched. Like he gets hit 95% of his runs 2 yards past the offensive line of scrimmage. That excuse me, that helps injuries in general. Like you're behind the best offensive line in football. Like literally, like it's one thing to get stuffed in the backfield and not know where hits are coming. When you get at least 2 feet of 2 yards, of leverage and be able to see where people are coming from, it's a little bit more protection, in my opinion. A little bit more of brace for impact kind of hits, as opposed to behind a New York Giants line where he got hit 3 yards in the backfield every other play.
I'm going to put this out here on the camera because a lot of Philly fans are going to be Italian, so they'll get this. If you have one, just make sure that you're wearing it, especially at the beginning of the season. Keeps the curses away. Make sure that nobody can put evil on you. Nobody wants your running back to get, banged up, roughed up, but he does. He handles himself fine. even the times that he has been hurt or injured, he bounces back. And we just like to assign curses to things. I think most of it is coincidence, I feel like. Or, the team gets bad. It's Peyton Hillis' fault because the Browns sucked.
Yeah.
And they would have sucked whether Peyton Hillis was on the cover of Madden or not.
I mean, you may know more about this. That is easily the worst player in NFL history to ever be on a Madden cover. Correct?
I would assume. There was a few years where they were putting Madden on it specifically.
Even OBJ being on the cover is like, he was raw. He was sick. Like, that's not that big a deal. He's still bearing Peyton Hillis.
I don't even Peyton Hillis didn't even really have a season. It was like 3 games. I think it was, he reminded people of Mike Allstott. And then people were like, oh, he's the face. And he wasn't. And Cleveland is Cleveland. The resurrected Cleveland should have stayed dead, apparently.
It was even funnier going back thinking about that time because Peyton Hillis was on our team.
Yeah.
And we traded him away from Brady Quinn. and that fun little time for Broncos fans. Now
Brady Quinn was before Tebow, wasn't he?
Yes, he was the season before or 2 seasons.
Yeah. I remember the heated conversation I had because I wore my Tebow jersey the season that Manning was making his decision. I wore it to Gunther Tooties, and the waiter was like, you want the new guy? I was like, no, I don't want the new guy. I want my good Christian Gator quarterback, and I want him now. That's my quarterback. Kind of like how the Browns owner said Shedeur Sanders was his quarterback. We're bringing this up again mainly because Dion responded to the things that have been said, and it has continued. It's not like the draft stopped and people stopped mentioning all of the stories coming out from the meetings. Daboll said that he gave him a lot to try and retain, didn't really do it when he was called out on it, got defensive. People said that he wore headphones into his meetings. People said that he was trying to get from the teams why they should be interested in him instead of the way that things normally work. So there's all of this chatter. Prime comes out and says it makes no sense. He's my son. He's been a professional. He's had 6 offensive coordinators. He's doing the dad thing / the coach thing because I think both occupations matter in this scenario. I guess my thing, there has to be some truth to what's been said about him. I don't know if it's all true. Maybe there are some teams that were looking for reasons not to draft him. But when you fall as far as he did, it means that there wasn't just one team that didn't like you. It means that most of the teams that saw you or talked to you or saw the shit that was going around during draft time didn't like you and didn't want to bring you around because A, you're not going to start for my team. B, you're going to be a bigger headache and possibly be a cancer in the locker room. Why am I going to willingly pay you millions of dollars to bring that in?
I mean, you look at the quarterback needy teams, like obviously the Giants come to mind. Like they went and got their guy in Jackson Dart.
And by all accounts, Jackson Dart had the opposite combine interviews that Shedeur Sanders had.
Apparently, and like I said, who knows if Jackson Dart gets better than Shedeur? Time will only tell. But obviously, from what we saw in college, Shedeur was more of a talented quarterback than Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart had the intangibles. He has the intangibles to that translates to the NFL as opposed to the talent that Shedeur showed. Right? Obviously, Titans with Cam Ward, they obviously picked him number 1, so there was nothing to bark about that. But a lot of these teams, like the Saints were probably the biggest head scratcher of them all because Derek Carr comes down with the injury a week before the draft happens. They're like, oh, they have to get a quarterback. Tyler Shuck is going to be a name that is going to be synonymous with being a backup quarterback for the next 20 years. We're talking about Chase Daniel level of backup quarterback from Tyler Shuck. He is going to be a great guy to have on the headset because he can read defenses really well, and he'll be able to see
unbeatable on the sticks,
and be able to figure out defenses very, very well. And that's probably what enticed the Saints a lot. And then you're going to put him on the field and be like, that fucking hideous throwing wheel motion was the 3rd pick quarterback taken in this draft.
Hey, but he's 6'6". He's tall.
I didn't realize fucking Adam Gase was still a coach in the league. Sorry, I apologize.
John Elway came through. He's like, hey, this guy's 6'6". You should draft him.
That was probably the biggest head scratcher across the league. Other teams were like, I don't want him to be our backup. And frankly, if I have a guy, just spitballing here, if I'm the Cowboys, why the fuck would I draft Deion? Or excuse me, Deion's kid. Dak is already like a ticking time bomb.
Oh, that would. I mean, Dak would have had a meltdown. I think Jerry Jones would have been pissed that people were asking more questions about Sanders. He would have done something. That's the one thing that I miss is that I wish we would have seen what Jerry Jones had in store for the media to get the attention back on him after they drafted Shedeur Sanders.
I honestly think that probably could have been the best situation for him to go to. And frankly, if the Browns move on from him, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if Dak has a horrible year or injured again and the Cowboys come call. Frankly, I'll be honest with you. I would not be surprised in the slightest if the Browns say, I guess Dylan Gabriel's the guy, or they think Joe Flacco in year 35 is still the guy. I don't know. I just at some point in the draft, you draft for talent and you also draft for needs. And backup quarterback is not a need, especially if it's a backup quarterback that is going to cause media circulation for the next however many months. I'll
give Deion his credit because he did say that this is going to be helpful, and I think I've seen the updates on Shiloh. Shiloh did get signed from his free agency contract at Tampa. Like he has been reported to be the first one at the facility, not saying no to what they tell the rookies to do, like trying to use this because he wasn't as outspoken as his brother, but he was kind of lumped into this whole Sanders phenomena that was, and I think that it did hurt him as well. I think that somebody probably would have drafted him in the 7th round, but it's,
well, he doesn't have the room to talk that Shedeur has to talk.
No, he doesn't have the room to talk, but I think that it did flip something inside of him because at CU, he was kind of a punk, and he's had this punk tendency in the past where he's beaten the crap out of security guards at school and like had these other issues. Maybe this was the turning point that he needed, but Prime said this will be the chip on Shedeur's shoulder that he needs because maybe he was starting to think that he shit daisies. Everybody kept telling him that.
I'll be honest with you. I think Shedeur will be a starting quarterback in the league.
I think he'll start at some point this season. I think by week 5 he'll be a starter. He'll be the starter.
Be a 1 or 2 year starter at minimum in this league. I do not think it'll be with the Cleveland Browns.
He's going to start games for the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if he sticks around there long term, but he will start games this season because Flacco won't hold up. And I think that we see all
unless he absolutely outworks Dylan Gabriel, they'll give Dylan Gabriel reps for Shedeur. They drafted him ahead of him for a reason.
No, I think that we'll see all three because last year we saw like 4 quarterbacks from Cleveland after Deshaun went down, and then Jameis decided to throw more to the other team, and then they put DTR in, and he got his head taken off like 18 different times. This is just it's rinse and repeat. Baby. Rinse and repeat.
They also traded for Kenny Pickett. They're going to keep 5 quarterbacks on the roster. I'm just saying.
Kenny Pickett.
Small hands, I know, very very small.
My hands still smell like my work gloves. That's shouldn't keep them that close to my face now. Anything else that you got? I mean, you want to talk a little PLL now that we've had a couple of games? I know that you mentioned it at the beginning. Well, what are some takeaways from the start of the season, and what are you most looking forward to? Where are you going this week?
I'll be in Charlotte, North Carolina. Actually, one of my favorite spots to go. Charlotte's a beautiful city. Like the weather there is beautiful. People are very nice. I'm very excited to go back to Charlotte. It's a great spot. And obviously, it's Chaos, Carolina Chaos weekend, home weekend. So that should be interesting. We played them on the second back-to-back on Saturday. So I'll leave on Friday, come back Sunday this week. But I will say, like, this first week I think it's very entertaining. I across the board, I was very, very entertained with how high level lacrosse. Like obviously, the game between us and the Denver Outlaws was very, very good. Right? It was back and forth. We came out on top. We had a bunch of young guys step up, go crazy. The Outlaws have 3 Tewaaraton winners on their starting attack line, which for those that don't know what the Tewaaraton Award is, it's a Heisman Trophy of college lacrosse. And they have 3 of those guys on their starting attack line. And they just added a 4th one, and Jared Bernhardt, a guy, for those that know the name, played in the NFL for a couple of years, and was on a couple of practice squads, and was in the CFL. He was a Tewaaraton winner in 2021, and he will be coming back to play in professional lacrosse this season. We were one of the teams in the running for him. Obviously, he did pick us, which is very unfortunate, but he'll be joining his brother Jesse. I believe it's Jesse. I can't remember which one it is. In for the Outlaws in Denver, and now they have 4 Tewaaraton players in the Outlaws. Capitals. And it's a sick, absolutely crazy, sick lineup. And we beat them this past week, so it's even more fun added to it. Besides that, Archer's looking for a three-peat, which is crazy how good a roster they have. You look at the chaos, new coach, new GM, a lot of turnover, a lot of new roster guys for them as well. See how they look. The Atlas, obviously, one of the best regular season teams last season. Started off 1-1. The Cannons this year, new offense coordinator, new defense coordinator, are bringing a lot of guys back, and with a lot of new young pieces that they're added too. I can help it. And across the board, outside that, Whipsnakes added Rob Pennell, my boy Robbie Pennell, who's on our team, left us and is now with Whipsnakes. They were one more away from winning the championship last year and lost. Besides that, this season it's as unpredictable as I've seen it. Like I could see, I know it's weird saying this, but I could see 3 or 4 teams winning it very easily. I could give you a prediction right now, which I can't give you a prediction, but I could give you a prediction right now for the PLL championship right now. And both those teams could very easily miss the playoffs because how good the depth is between all 8 teams. So it's going to be a very fun summer. I'm super excited.
I'm excited that the Woods got off on the right foot this year because last year we were searching for win number 1, and now you got that one out of the way. We know how to do this. Oh, yeah. That feels good.
The boys it's fun, man. I'll tell you what, Anthony Kelly has brought life in that locker room. Joe Splina, I've obviously got to talk to Joe a lot more than he probably would like, because I talked to him way too much, the GM, about all of our stuff and how much shit I got to deal with because he trades people all the time and has to deal with roster moves and all that. So that makes it very fun. The coaching staff is awesome. I'm working under, obviously, a coach at Cherokee Cross under Matt Block. His brother Chris Brock is our offense coordinator. So that adds more fun to it. This roster is exciting, and I do want to highlight a couple guys because it's really cool to see the youth movement. But we had a guy follow us in the 10th overall pick, Chris Kavanaugh, who scored 4 goals and had 6 points, 4 goals, 2 assists in his first game at starting attack, and he was absolutely unreal. Player of the week, the PLL voted on. So he was unreal as a rookie in his first game back. Excited to see what he does going forward. Obviously, Andrew McAdory, number 2 overall pick, won a face-off. He doesn't do face-offs, by the way. Won a face-off, ran down and scored the first goal of his career, and the whole place was electric. We have a guy named Josh Balkersell who, for those who don't know, there's waiver wire pickups basically for guys that were in the national semis for college and were playing in the NLL finals. So he was picked up Monday of training camp. He came in, made the roster, and not only did he make the roster, he produced assist and a goal in his first game. He is 5'8" and just balls of steel. And the kid it's a great story. The kid out of Maris. So super excited for him. I'm excited to see what this team looks like this week because if we can win back-to-back games in conference against the Outlaws and Chaos and get a good goal differential, man, it is a hot start. It helps us big time going forward.
Not a lot of time, so you want to get out to a lead and then be able to hold it because things will happen, things will change. We'll be keeping in touch with the PLL.
And then one last thing, the Sugar Show, baby. The Sugar Show is back this weekend. Please save us, Sugar Show. Save us from the Dagestani wrestlers. Knock Marab out, please, for all of us. I'm begging you.
Something. I would very much enjoy seeing that because I don't like Marab's. I get that it's a character, but I don't like his character.
I would love the
It's not my thing.
To pound him into the ground. Come on.
I'll give you your chance to say anything else about sports because I'm going to bring it down a little bit before we finish up.
Like I said,
because
all of our segments and stuff will be coming back. Obviously, this is just a makeshift pod that we're throwing together because I just got off the fucking plane 2 days ago, and Jimmy's coming back from Dom's wedding. Congrats, Dom and Savannah. What a fun wedding that was. I was unfortunately unable to go, but I saw all the pictures and saw everything. It looked like an absolute ball. So I know you and the family had so much fun, which I'm so excited for you and the family. So obviously next week, all of our segments and everything will be coming back, but we had things going on, and Jimmy had a lot of things going on because he was best man a couple of nights ago in New Mexico. So congrats to Dom and Savannah. And like I said, PLL season's underway and life is moving. Life is great.
Life is moving. That is definitely the truth. I will say my best man speech, I did make it. Ed and I did an impromptu kind of back and forth that we didn't plan, but people thought we did. So People were saying we should have collaborated, and we didn't need to because we're just that good. It was a great weekend, and we've been having, we have a lot of dogs at our house, and we've had a couple that were there for a longer period of time. And unfortunately, I know that I'm not the only one, and our family's not the only one that's felt this. Niko had this with his family dog that he grew up with. But when they're there for as long of a time, like 10 plus years, it kind of weighs on you in a different way. And unfortunately, our Rottweiler, Rocky, is not doing well. And it kind of started before we left for New Mexico. And bless his heart, he wanted to make it so that we didn't have to worry about him while we were out there. So he battled through. His back end, his hips seem like they're hurting him, and he struggles moving, doesn't like to get up for much. And this was a dog that used to greet you at the door with a toy and like jumping up into your lap no matter what, barking at anything, any sound. Like, it was annoying, but now it's kind of eerie with how quiet things are. It's unfortunately going to be the end for him. We don't want him to have to be stuck, and we want him to remember the fun that he had. So it's been tough. It's been a tough week because it hits you out of nowhere and it hits you in different places. But I wanted to bring it up because I was glad that I had the show coming. I'm glad that Niko is back. Had a lot to talk about, and obviously sports is a distraction for a lot of people, and I needed that distraction today. So I appreciate everybody who tuned in live. I appreciate Niko for giving me that time to talk about it. And, he's there for me behind the scenes too. I do have to reach out to people, and he's on that list. So I appreciate him for being there. And, I wish that they could live and you just take him with you when you go. But I hope that he's happy with our other dogs that are up there. And we'll finish before the outro video. I found a couple of those on my phone, and one of them's from when he was a puppy. And then I'll show you guys a picture so you know who I'm talking about. But on that note, enjoy the final series, and we appreciate you. Love you. Love your dogs. Tell them that you love them for us. We'll be out and see you guys next week. For myself, Jimmy Pilato, Niko Bryant. Catch you guys next time.
Yeah, I'll wait here. You come back. I'll wait here. Oh, damn it. Okay, here you're back.
Rocky with the upper hand.
I mean, you don't have to video.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.